Subscribe now for more r/AskReddit posts. What industry is a lot shadier than it seems? The maritime industry. Most of the big companies do things by the book and treat crews well because they are afraid of lawsuits and unions. But many smaller mom and pop companies break laws and violate safety regulations with reckless abandon because they are not as visible and can stay under the radar, so to speak. It's very common for a small company to ask a captain/crew to do something illegal and dangerous in order to increase profit, and for the captain/crew to comply out of fear of losing their jobs. And that's just the US maritime industry. Sailors from poorer nations who work on ships are often fed little more than rice and cheap ramen for months at a time and paid pennies for their back-breaking work. I love running tugs for a living, but the industry as a whole is rife with shady business. I don't know if it falls under maritime, but I took one look at the job listing for a cruise ship, and now I tell all my co-workers to never take a job with one. I'm a stagehand and theater technician. I make decent money fresh out of college, $18 to $24 an hour depending on venue, even without joining the union, because I do specialized work. Looked into a lighting tech spot on a cruise ship, and I'd be getting minimum wage working 50 hours and 7 days a week. We fee on board, costs money out of my paycheck. I'd be in charge of passenger safety off hours. If an alarm goes off and we have to get people onto rescue rafts, I'd have a roommate in a small bunk, and all my wages would go directly into a ship debit card so I could give my income straight back to the company to eat. Something about living and working on a boat in the middle of the ocean seems to make employers think they don't have to actually care for their employees. I can imagine working on a boat that isn't filled with people on vacation would be even worse. My dad knows a story from someone who works for a nationwide grocery chain. They have to deal with an Italian mafia to import balsamic vinegar. For real? My dad told me this about 2012-ish. The story is that a few representatives had to personally ask the mafia and strike a deal, and every now and then a random person will bring it up. So I think it's true. The franchise is also like the upper class shops, specialty items imported all over, but also local is good to business, semi-equivalent to America's Whole Foods demographic. Also, as a foreigner looking in as a gullible tourist, it's a bit of a romantic tale in terms of there's still this mafia controlling an Italian export specialty. If we are ever allowed to travel again, I'm gonna want to find out from locals if it's true. More businesses than you think have to deal with mafias and gangsters. I once helped the gang relations person with Habitat for Humanity get reassurance that their volunteers would be protected in an American inner city. They apparently always speak with the gangs beforehand for safety reasons. I know people at my work that have come dealing similar to this. The company, a global brand, which opened a new factory in the outskirts of a major Russian city. The budget for this, I'd guess well into billions of dollars, had to include for various dealings with the local mafia. I know that part of this included dealing with a guy who basically made problems go away, not having the right installation equipment, correct trades, etc. I heard a few guys woke up in the local forest not knowing how they got there. This included some from my country who were supporting the project. Dietary supplements. It's gotten better, but there's still a lot of half-truths and whole lies. Not all that long ago, it was seriously like the wild wild west. And doing your own research is nearly impossible, since the signal to noise ratio of the information is so low. Recruitment industry. Some examples. Fake jobs to lure candidates for registration KPIs. Trainee negotiation tactics of telling a candidate there is a better candidate who wants less, so we recommend less for you to get the job, especially for contractors. Coveting off pitching and telling a candidate they have been sent to a line manager, but in reality they haven't been submitted because two others from same recruiter have already been in interviews. If they fail, you may get a chance. Lot of coded ways to put on a database info on your age, non-professional related appearance, and ethnicity. Ageism, sexism, racism is rampant in hiring. A lot more dodgy stuff behind the scenes. Source: was involved with the industry on a global level for over 15 years before I changed careers. Eyeglasses. You have no idea the snow job they put most people through when it comes to buying them. It's far, far worse than trying to buy a new car from a dealership. Wholesale frames are about $5 to $20. Wholesale lens blanks are another $10. Any kind of dip coating, UV, tinting, etc. is negligible cost and effort to apply. Literally pennies. To top it off, they don't even do a whole lot in-house, but send it to labs which are basically sweatshops. That can take up to 2 to 3 weeks when labor time is literally under 5 minutes. Instead of training real opticians and technicians, they are just glorified sales staff now. Most of the time they don't even bother with proper measurement for PD, frame width, or arm fitting. Was an optician in the early 90s. I'm horrified at what the business has become. All industries are shadier than they seem. I used to work for a flute manufacturer, and it was shady as hell. Deets? I don't want to name the manufacturer, but it was around the 2008 financial crisis, and the place was equity owned and leveraged to ducking Mars. The CEO was committing bank fraud and screwing contractors while laying off employees and enriching himself. Was there a whistleblower among the flutists? Trucking. The margins are razor thin, and so everyone is trying to nickel and dime each other constantly. The drivers lie to their dispatchers, the dispatchers lie to the brokers lie to the clients. All of this for like $50 to $100 sometimes. I worked in trucking, and the head HR lady for our distribution center was skimming payroll, shorting the checks of the lowest people on the totem pole, then getting cash infusions to petty cash from corporate to return part of the theft as an emergency tide over until the employee's next check, then claiming the rest of the theft as an overage on the next payroll report. I'm probably missing a step in her chain, but I'm not an accountant. It was a scam. She managed to work for a couple of years due to a lack of oversight during nationwide management shifts. When she finally got caught, rather than take the bad publicity, the company just let her leave. The last I heard, she was working in the same position in an adjacent industry, but still involving transportation. Cest larvae. Domain names. There's so much shady stuff that goes on when it comes to domain names. Cyber squatting, sketchy registrars, domain hijacking, scams, predatory pricing, etc. Then there's the whole icon/.org fiasco that's been in the news recently. Recycling. Dirty little secret of the recycling industry is how much is either shipped overseas and dumped in a landfill, or just sent directly to your local landfill. The good news is the toxic stuff is what is sent overseas. Well, good news if you're not in a poor country, I guess. Recycling is a much more palatable than selling our trash to China as raw materials. Rating services like Yelp refuse to advertise, and your good reviews magically get rearranged. Hey, look, if you want to do that and be transparent, I get it. But most every business owner knows how scummy this is, and most clients just have no idea. I have a business that isn't something that would usually be looked for on Yelp. They called and I just froze. Luckily I do long-term rentals and was sold out. Explained I wouldn't have an opening for months. They seemed to leave me alone. Yet they have my business on the front page of Google search under the wrong category. I work for an independent auto shop and Yelp is relentless. They call once a month attempting to sell advertising for minimums of like $200 a month. I signed up for a month and literally didn't get one verified lead through Yelp. I don't blame the salespeople, but they are super pushy and call back with the same script month after month trying to get me to log on. And look at how many views my listing has. I advertise on Google and get verified results, and Google has never once called me with a pushy upselling. Pet industry. Basement puppy mills and dogs that are so inbred they can hardly breathe. There are plenty of ethical breeders out there, and some unlicensed breeders are ethical, even if in a legal gray zone. But the conditions of some of the so-called puppy mills can be really bad. Sometimes when breeds are mixed, and the pup gets the recessive genes the breeders weren't looking for, they straight up euthanize it, because they know it won't sell. Not to mention how many purebreds are actually not pure at all, and sold as is. Shady. Not to mention the idiots who breed two merles to each other in hope of getting a healthy double merle male. This chance is incredibly low, and breeding two merles together generally produces puppies with eye and hearing malformations, among others. But if you can get that magic male, he'll throw all merle puppies, and people like that pattern. So money. I can ID a double Male Aussie or BC from a single photo, and every time I see one I rage. The poor things have a poor quality of life and they are typically dumped on rescue by the shady breeder. CBD, lot of predatory companies making subpar products with questionable raw materials, and then marking it way the duck up, and selling it as a miracle cure, to vulnerable and ill-educated consumers. Usually have a high-power legal team on deck, but pay their workers shat and no benefits. Mattress industry, specifically, mattress firm. Worked in the mattress industry for a bit at a startup. Basically 90% bullshit. And the worst part? We had a real doctor serve an advisory role for our products. He debunked a lot of nonsense claims about mattresses, like your pillow is 50% of your spinal support, that the salespeople use to sell you accessories. The salespeople would argue with him, like they knew better. Kool-Aid is strong there. Some of my favorites I learned are these Zip Direct 2-door in a box foam bed companies, like Tuft and Needle use the same material, from the same manufacturer. There's hundreds of them. Just put them in different boxes and sell at wildly different prices. Side sleeper, back sleeper and stomach sleeper is baloney. You toss and turn at night on purpose, to help prevent blood clots. No mattress will keep you from tossing and turning for the reason above. It's a natural thing you're supposed to do. More layers doesn't mean better mattress. A lot of companies add in cheap materials like upholstery foam to just claim there's more layers. Maybe one layer of nice springs then just 10 layers of various types of cheap foam to get the layers higher. One that actually is true is heat. If you frequently are hot at night, foam mattress is not good for you. It's an insulator and will trap your heat on your body. In general, air and spring are better beds because of heat. Your body needs to dump temperature at night to get into a full, deep sleep. If it's too hot, you won't sleep well.